This is 3 News Daily.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new week of 3 News Daily on this Monday, February 20th. I'm Stephanie Haney here with your top stories. And we start off in East Palestine this afternoon as residents enter week 3 since a train carrying toxic chemicals derailed. The CEO of Norfolk Southern, which is the company that owns the train that derailed, visited the area this weekend. But for angry residents who are worried that the air and water are not safe, it was not enough.
Tempers flaring in East Palestine.
I'm not happy at all.
Outrage brewing following Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw's unannounced visit on Saturday. Residents fuming as more questions linger over that toxic train derailment that's fueled concerns over air and water quality.
Why wasn't this voiced openly so that we could all have gone and had a few words with this person?
Mike McKim was among a small group of business owners and community members that spoke with the CEO privately.
He was apprehensive about coming here with a bunch of angry people. I'm not afraid to say that it wasn't right. And there's a lot of other people that feel the same way that I feel. Security cameras from his newly opened winery captured the nearby fiery derailment. Customers now canceling reservations. It's the American dream. You know, it's kind of turned into an American nightmare. In an interview with our affiliate WFMJ, the CEO declined to answer specific questions about cleanup concerns at the site.
We worked with the Ohio EPA on safe operations and safety for the community.
The company says they've distributed more than $2.6 million to help residents. But now, the Department of Transportation saying they will hold the company accountable, adding that, quote, until the number of derailments is 0, everyone involved in our rail system must make safety improvements a priority. This comes as air and water testing continues. The EPA saying there are still no water quality concerns in East Palestine.
Now, starting today, the State Health Department and the CDC will be taking appointments for a community health clinic. East Palestine residents can sign up, and those clinics start tomorrow. The Ohio Department of Health says the clinic will open at noon on Tuesday at the First Church of Christ on West Martin Street. The clinic will be run out of 2 rooms and a mobile unit set up upside. Registered nurses and mental health professionals will be on hand, and the clinic will stay open through Saturday. And today, a man in Greene is dead after a car slammed into his home while he was sleeping. Summit County Sheriff's deputies say this happened just before 3 o'clock on Sunday morning. A 32-year-old woman lost control of her car on Mayfair Road, then crossed over the roadway and crashed into a house on Barth Drive. She hit the 69-year-old man who was sleeping inside. The driver was taken to the hospital, and charges against her are pending. Deputies suspect speed, alcohol, and drug use all played a role in that crash. Now in Lorain County, a bakery has major cleaning up to do. A driver had to be pulled from their car by firefighters after crashing into the Espresso Bakery on 4th Street in Elyria. The accident happened around 9 a.m. on Sunday, and we're told the driver was going 65 in a 35-mile-per-hour zone and crashed through the back wall of the bakery, trapping a worker in the debris from the crash. Both the driver and employee were taken to the hospital, and the cause of that crash is still under investigation. Now to Parma, where police think they've caught some suspects believed to be stealing luxury cars across Northeast Ohio. They tell us on Saturday they were alerted to a stolen Hellcat going down State Road. Officers chased the car until one cruiser got a flat, but the other officers kept going until 3 men jumped out of the Hellcat and ran. They were all eventually caught, and now Parma police are investigating which recent thefts they might be responsible for. And classes resumed today at Michigan State University after last week's deadly mass shooting where 3 students were killed and 5 others were injured. University staff say $250,000 have been raised, which will be used to cover the funeral expenses and hospital bills for the victims. 4 of the injured students remain in critical condition, and officials also announced that the 2 campus buildings where the shootings took place will be closed for the rest of this semester. Now, President Joe Biden made a surprise visit to Ukraine today as Russia's war against the country approaches the 1-year mark. The president said he made the trip to reaffirm the United States' commitment to supporting Ukraine. NBC's Bree Jackson has the details from Capitol Hill.
President Biden making a surprise trip to Ukraine and meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky in Kyiv as Russia's war against the country nears the one-year mark.
1 year later, Kyiv stands, and Ukraine stands. Democracy stands. The Americans stand with you.
The unprecedented visit was months in the making, with details kept very secure and air raid sirens sounding during the president's stay. The president stopping at the Wall of Remembrance to lay a wreath. Mr. Biden noting how much Ukraine has lost in the war and announcing more aid is on the way.
And air defense systems all defend Ukraine, and that doesn't count the other $500 million we're announcing with you today and tomorrow.
As the violence rages on, White House officials say they've determined Russia has committed war crimes.
We believe that this is a systematic, deliberate effort by the Kremlin.
The U.S. also warns that China may be considering providing lethal aid to Russia.
We make clear to the Chinese that there will be consequences should they make that unfortunate decision.
The Biden administration sending a strong message to other countries.
Remind us that freedom is priceless. It's worth fighting for as long as it takes, and that's how long we're going to be with you, Mr. President, for as long as it takes.
And pledging unwavering support for Ukraine. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Now, while details of the president's trip were kept under tight wraps, the U.S. did tell the Kremlin about the trip hours before it began, but won't say what their response was. This week, Biden will head to Poland, where he'll speak on Poland's support for Ukraine and its support of Ukrainian refugees. To sports now, as it is officially the end of an era here in Cleveland. On Saturday, the Cavs and Kevin Love came to an agreement on a buyout, and now we're learning that once Love clears waivers, he'll sign with the Miami Heat. That's a familiar story for Cavaliers fans. Love spent 9 seasons with the Cavs, but hasn't played in the last 12 games, and understandably, he wants to go somewhere where he can get some minutes on the court. Kevin said yesterday on social media that another former Cavalier, Tristan Thompson, helped him make the decision to move on. We will definitely miss him and thank him for what he did for the city of Cleveland. And we have got to talk about last night's NBA All-Star Showdown between Team LeBron and Team Giannis. Proving time and again to be an MVP, the Cavaliers' Donovan Mitchell dominated on the court. Playing for Team Giannis, Mitchell scored 40 points. That's a record for any Cav in an All-Star game. And that helped beat Team LeBron with a final score of 184 to 175. Donovan Mitchell is definitely something special. Now, today is President's Day, and if you happen to have the day off, you might notice a lot of empty parking lots as you're driving around. Well, that's because President's Day is a federal holiday, so government offices, the U.S. Postal Service, banks, and public libraries and schools are closed. So for a full list of closures and businesses that want to make sure you know they're open, you can head to our website, wkyc.com. Now for our question of the day. Not only is today President's Day, but it is also National Love Your Pet Day. So we want to see your furry, feathered, scaly, and spiky family members. That's, you're seeing my little buddies there. That's Mr. McDuff. And of course, Oscar the Wild Man, who was going to be 1 year old on March 31st. I can't believe it. He has not met a rope that he cannot chew through. We are very much experiencing the puppy stage of life right now. And of course, Finn McCool. Those are my little buddies. We want to see yours, so post them on the WKYC Facebook page and in our 3 What's New Facebook group. And then we'll feature some of them during What's New at 4 o'clock. Can't wait to see all your sweet little buddies. Okay, now to Landmarks in the Land, a series where we highlight the most recognizable places right here in Cleveland. And the arcade downtown has played an important role not only in Cleveland's history, but also the nation's. Our Isabel Lawrence takes us inside the architectural masterpiece once known as Cleveland's Crystal Palace.
In the rush and routine of downtown Cleveland, it can be easy to get lost in the daily grind. But at Cleveland's arcade, if you don't stop and look around, you might miss the magic.
It's spectacular.
Opened in 1890, the indoor shopping center connected Euclid and Superior, an architectural marvel and gathering place for Clevelanders.
It is part of a movement in urban areas for indoor shopping. You can look at the arcade as the mall of the late 1800s.
With big Cleveland names like Severance and Rockefeller pitching in with funding, historian John Grabowski says the building is more than just a beautiful structure.
It's an emblem of Cleveland at a time when the city was really growing, when it had political power.
Through the years, the arcade has played host to national events and has been home to dozens of retailers. But with the rise of suburbanization and strip malls in the mid-20th century, business slowed. As reinvestment efforts began in downtown Cleveland in the 80s and 90s, the arcade received renewed attention.
By 1999, it had to, there were multiple buckets on the floor catching water. The building was in some jeopardy.
Tom Yablonsky is involved with historic preservation advocacy in Cleveland. He recalls how the renovation project, completed in 2001, transformed the arcade into a hotel with shopping.
I walked into this and I knew instantly. They had me.
Robert Dorr, with the Hyatt Regency Cleveland at the arcade, was struck the first time he walked in the doors. The grandeur of its iron carvings and light court still on full display more than 100 years later.
The wow factor, of course, is the ceiling of the arcade. It's 100 feet tall. It's 300 feet long. It consists of 1,800 panels of glass.
Dorr says 51 gargoyles watch over the arcade. Copper stampings line the walls, and the marble floors, worn from decades of footsteps, still impress. These ornate details, enough to catch national attention.
The fact that it's on the National Register of Historic Places indicates that people have appreciated it. It was the first site in Cleveland on that, so it's a highly regarded site.
The entire arcade is nestled between two 9-story buildings on Euclid and Superior. Today, the first 2 floors are businesses and restaurants with 293 guest rooms rising above. And while the historic status prevents major changes to the interior of the arcade, the guest rooms still offer modern amenities. The hotel, a popular backdrop for events.
The reviews that we get are incredible. Best wedding ever. I attended a friend's wedding there. My daughter had her wedding there.
A landmark built in the 1800s, meant to be a great connector and destination for downtown Cleveland, still serving its original purpose all these years later.
It's special to a lot of people in many, many different ways. And having been around as long as we've been around means there are stories galore. And we're always hearing a new one.
I did not realize that was on the National Register for Historic Landmarks. Listen, if you want a good photo, and isn't it all about the Instagram, go into the arcade, get on that second floor, get that beautiful ceiling and all of that incredible, truly architectural masterpiece in the background. It is stunningly gorgeous, and there's some really good spots in there too to do a little bit of shopping. Thanks for being with us for today's edition of 3 News Daily. Everybody have a wonderful Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow with more of your top stories from around Northeast Ohio.